Right, I thought I'd do something slightly different today. I'm going to start working on building an opening repertoire. My opening repertoire. I've had a play around with this website and I've started some stuff, but I thought slowly I want to build up an opening repertoire that we can learn. And I'm just going to show you guys the process that I'm going to try and do to make that happen. So I've got a few websites that I'm going to use to try and help me. And it's going to be something that's going to take quite a long time. But slowly, I'm going to build out what I want to play against various chess openings. And I'm going to use these various websites to help me. So the first website I've got is something called chessbook.com. I'll talk about it in a bit. Another one, I'm not sure how much I'm going to use, but I do know that it's very popular to help with building openings. That's called openingtree.com. Now this has a huge database. Often I use the Lichess database, which I'll show you in a minute. It also lets you have a look at your particular games and it analyzes your openings and things, so we could do that. But I'm kind of not so interested in what my openings have been in the past. I want to know what my openings are going to be in the future. So I might use this just to help me look at what is a good potential move or a tricky move or something. And then the other website, this is Lichess. I don't know if people use Lichess, but it's a very good free website to play chess. To be honest, I'm not sure why I'm not using it over chess.com. The only reason I like chess.com is I like their analysis after the game. But otherwise, Lichess is really good. It's totally free. It's got a really good database, opening database, which I know is better than chess.com's one. And it's very fast and snappy. There are some other tools that I'm not very familiar with, and I'm sure you could do stuff like make studies and stuff to help you learn openings, but I'm going to use this website, which is called Chessbook. And I haven't really used it much before, but I've heard about it. But essentially, it lets you start building your own repertoire. And we'll decide what we're going to do. But then, once you've built your repertoire, it then gives you tests. And you basically can use it every day to slowly memorize your different lines. And that's the part that I want to use, basically. It's 1, to build and store my repertoire somewhere. And 2, to slowly memorize it. Because it's really difficult to memorize opening lines. Right, that's just a little introduction. So then the next thing to think about slightly is, what do I want from an opening repertoire? And that's a really big and detailed question. But in general, for me, what do I want? And what do I want? So, I want stuff that is not mainline, that is slightly off the beaten path. Because I want, when I play against somebody, I want to take them out of their comfort zone, out of their mainline theory, and take them into my comfort zone, into my sideline theory, shall we say. The other thing I would like is for the openings to have the potential to have some trappy lines. But I don't want to go down the very unsound trappy lines. So when we're building the repertoire, I want to look for moves which score well, but are not super dubious. Because there's sometimes moves that score very well, but are rather dubious if people know what to do against them. So I want to gear it in the side where we go off the beaten path. We're focusing on one particular line against whichever opening it is that we're trying to study. Maybe get a little bit of a trappy repertoire going and take it from there. Now, part of the problem is going to be is that I don't know all openings. I don't know what opening suits my style, as it were. But I know there's one that I want to try today. And the one that I want to try and learn about today is when white plays d4 and I'm black. And if you look here, it's got a whole list of different openings that you could do. And you could learn about this, or you could learn any one that you want, to be honest. But I want to try this particular one. Now, I know this as a very dubious... It's called the... Wait. It's called... Oh, I'm misclicking here. It's called the Englund Gambit. Now, I learnt this a long time ago, and I've learnt a very trappy line where they take... I go here, they defend the pawn, I come here, and they defend the pawn, I come here, check, and you're on the bishop and on the king at the same time. There's all kinds of different sidelines, but essentially I stopped playing it after a while because one, lots of people ended up knowing it, and two, if they know what they're doing, yeah, I get in quite a bad position. So I didn't like it. But there's another line which I've heard about. Now you have to bear with me whilst I learn how to use this website. So there's another line, and that's the line I want to try and develop a repertoire for today, which is supposed to be, well, I don't know. It's just maybe slightly more sound. I think probably it isn't that sound, but slightly more sound. And it's a different style. So that one goes, when you go here, instead of bringing the knight out here, it's this pawn sacrifice here. So I want to build a repertoire against this and essentially work out all the different white moves that are common and what I should do to respond against them. And before we start, there's a helpful button here. When you click on this analyze, it brings you directly to Lichess and it brings you to the opening database. And we get to see all the common moves and what they score. And you can choose it against the whole of Lichess, or if you really want to, you want chess masters. So these are much higher rated players. So you can see what the higher rated players are playing, or you can see what everybody is playing, which includes all the lower rated players as well, or players at my level. Now, I've also got an engine here. Now, what is slightly sad and discomforting is how bad this is against the engine. And in general, I probably don't want to make a repertoire where I'm this bad. But I'm going to make an exception for this particular opening, because one, I want to learn how to use the repertoire thing. And two, I think it's not such a big opening, and I want to have, ultimately, I want to have multiple, let's say, weapons to play against 1d4. And I want to have sound openings that are my regular openings, but then I want to have some sideline openings which are aggressive. Now this is slightly off-putting, but let's just focus. I'm gonna carry on, and at least for now I'm gonna build my repertoire. So there's basically two moves here. And the move which most people play is actually good for me. So that's what makes this opening potentially viable. Because the move that most people play is this. Which is also bad if you're playing against an engine. But when you're playing against people black is scoring slightly higher, because it gets a bit trappy and a bit openy. So this is what makes it kind of something that I'm kind of semi-interested in. So we need to slowly start learning some moves and then put it into my repertoire and train this repertoire and then save it, and then later on this will train me to help me learn the moves. Now, one of the things this website does, Chessbook, it does give you some of these most likely responses. So we're going to look at first what to do if they take. And we are going to be going down the line of bishop takes. So this is my repertoire so far. And then, interestingly, it tells me how often you might expect to see these moves. And we kind of need to build responses for more or less all of this. Just have a quick look on Lichess on their website here. So I'm particularly interested when black is scoring well. Now I guess we're going to have to start. So one of the interesting things here, we basically got two main moves that white tends to play. Like 52% of players play this. And then 22% of players play this. So we should definitely have some answers for what to do in that situation. So let's start with going with the main line. When they play this. And I need to work out what my response is. And it seems to be knight c6 is the most common. Let's have a quick look on Lichess. So it's knight c6, 53% for black. Seems good. So we will add that to our repertoire. Knight to c6. And then it's got all kinds of responses. So it does get a little bit tricky because there's always so many things. But what I need to get is what is my basic setup. Because I have sacrificed a pawn here. Now for that pawn, we get ahead in development. I think normally it's something like bring the bishop, I see I'm not on Lichess, doesn't quite work. But basically, bringing the bishop out here, bringing the queen out and getting castled this way is my understanding. So it's saying here the most common move is knight to c3. Let's just go back to Lichess and have a quick look. Yes, so see, this is when there's quite a lot of options here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 kind of main options, and then loads of sidelines as well. And probably the sidelines I'm going to have to ignore. And if people play that, we'll have to make it up as we go along. I can't make the repertoire so detailed that I can't memorize it. Let's have a look, see what the engine wants to do here. Knight to c3, and it's the most common. So let's have a look at that. Now the engine still thinks white's ahead by quite a substantial amount, but we're going to ignore that for now. Because when you look at it, even though the engine is plus 1.4, in all the players that play on Lichess, this position, black is doing better. Which is fascinating, really. But that's probably the kind of position, if you're going to gambit something, that you want to be playing. Where, despite the engine's score, when people play it, they do badly. Right, where did we get up to? So we're saying we're going to first look at knight to c3, which is the most common move. And then we need to have a look what the response is. So it's saying either bishop g4 or knight to f6. Let's have a quick look on Lichess at what different options. So the engine is wanting bishop g4. Interestingly, knight to f6 is slightly ahead. But if you look at the scores, 50% here, 55% here. And this is over like hundreds of thousands of games. So definitely out of these two moves, I'm more inclined for the bishop g4. I notice here there's a 56%. But this is only in 3% of games, but it's queen e7. And I think probably just the move order gets changed. But let's just have a quick look. If I were to be queen a7, the computer doesn't like it. And it's because of this move to d5, which hits the queen and makes me have to move my queen again. But what? And that's not even a common move. It's like 4%. But you see all of these winning, winning, winning. But this particular move is not so winning. It's not that bad, actually. But that's interesting. So I'm not going to do that. So let's go with the bishop g4 will be my repertoire. We'll add it in. Right. And then it's got another 4 common moves here. Let's go back here. So the computer's wanting h3. Here there's 1, 2, 3, 4 main moves. The others are sidelines. We'll stick with the main moves from now. So apparently the most common is e3. Do I agree with that? Would I play e3? e3 doesn't look very natural to me. It blocks the bishop in. But that's already interesting, isn't it? Because what is white going to play here exactly? Can they play bishop g5? Wow, it wants f6 in response. So maybe even something like this I should add to the repertoire, just because f6 is a very unusual move that you wouldn't normally play. But the fact that f6 is good here, I might need to know. But maybe that's a bit too complicated. What other move might I do as white? We're going to have a look at these main lines. What about e4? e4. Now the engine is saying queen to f6. By far the majority is queen to e7 with a huge win rate here. Is queen to e7 bad? Interesting that the engine dislikes it so, but look at the win rates here. Let's just go down this line. I'm not going to put this in the repertoire yet, but I just want to have a... Let's go down there. It's interesting because what the engine wants to play is quite low down on what is actually played. Is there any Masters games here? There's no Masters games here. They don't play this trash opening. This might be a bit of a long video, by the way. I'm just realizing maybe this isn't good content. But I'm doing it. I'm trying it out. Maybe people will like this kind of stuff. If this video tanks and nobody's interested at all, I won't record anymore. I'll just do this by myself. But if you like it, do let me know. Because I've got a hell of a lot of repertoire openings that I want to build out over time. Right, let me have a quick look at this. None of this I'm adding to the repertoire yet. I'm just having a quick peruse as to... So 82% bishop is brought back. This is when it starts to get split up. You realise how difficult it is to learn these repertoires. Interestingly, that what the engine wants and what does best is bishop to b5. But it's not the most common move. See, this is what happens. But let's just have a look at the engine's best line. I just want to see why it's so good for them. Now 60% castle, but the engine wants me to play f6, which is the second. That's kind of interesting, isn't it? They score fairly similarly. Let's just have a quick look at castles. I find it fascinating. The engine like spits on it, and because it wants to damage the pawn structure. I mean, this is already like way too far. We're not going to be learning this much. Wait, was that the top move? Knight to f6 is the top move, and then white is crushing. Yeah, don't do that. What does the engine want to do here? Queen to e2, and it wants to bring this in to stop the queen coming in, basically. Yeah, I don't like the look of this. How did we get here? That as if the engine was playing against this move here. It's fascinating, isn't it? I need to go back. Where did we actually get up to? We got up to this move here. So let's start with E3 then. I am noticing there's so many different options just on this one opening. This one side opening. There's so many options. This is why you have to like slowly go through it and work it out and then learn it. But if I build the repertoire and then slowly learn it over time, then we get to play it, and we should have better knowledge than our opponents and start with a slight edge. Right, so we're going to look at this. Let's go to analyze from this position here. So there's two main moves. So probably I'm only interested in looking at the moves if they're over like 15% of the games. Like these ones, they're just too niche. Once we've learnt the repertoire, we can always add the other sidelines. But let's stick to these two main responses here. So the overwhelming response is Queen to E7, and there's F6. What does the engine want? Interestingly, it wants the less common one, which scores less. So how bad is Queen to E7? Because like this is a perfect example of when I might go with the scores on the games over what the engine says. Because this must mean the line is more tricky or more trappy or more difficult to play as white. Even though if they play perfect, they're doing well. But when you look here, and it's got a difference of like 5% difference. I mean, that's huge. So let's make Queen to E7 our repertoire move. Even though on paper it's slightly worse. But we're going to make it our repertoire move so that we learn it that way. And then what does white do? So they've got overwhelmingly Queen to E2 is the move. And then the question is, do we learn these sidelines as well? I think I should look at Queen to B5 because that's the move that I would play. Interestingly, H3. So maybe we should look at these top three as our kind of moves to add to our repertoire. So let's start with the overwhelmingly favourite move. And here almost certainly castles is the move. But interestingly, knight to F6 is the engine choice. Score-wise, it's fairly similar. What does castles do? Interesting, it doesn't actually change much, so the engine doesn't mind. So probably we should go down the line of most games, which also scores better. So we'll make castles our repertoire move. We've got bishop to E2, and we've got castles. Now, it gives me a coverage goal, and basically it's letting me know how deep I've gone in a line, and basically this is kind of the target that I want to get to. However, I do want to add a few extra moves on occasion, particularly if they're important. So I'm going to keep adding moves so that we can look here first of all. So let's just go back. So we've got castles, and then the most common move is bishop to D2, which is already scoring really well for black, or castles, which is scoring really well for black. What the computer wants to do is this move here. So we should definitely look at what to do for the best move, and we should definitely look to do what's so crushing with these two moves. So let's say if bishop to D2, it's saying knight to F6 is the move. And then we've basically, even according to the computer, got an even game, despite being a pawn down. Has to be good. I think we stick with the best move here. So let's add that to the repertoire. So bishop to d2, knight to f6. And now we're kind of getting quite far into the line, but let's just finish off with castles, which seems the most natural move. And then already the engine prefers black. Wow. That's amazing. And h5 is the move, so I should definitely add that to the repertoire, because it's not a natural move to remember. And then probably I'm going to have to finish it here, and then the rest of it, if we ever get a game like this, we'll have to learn over time. So castles, h5. Wow. I think actually h3 is a line, because I think this is the fishing pole where I sacrifice a bishop. So we should probably have a look at this just to make sure that we don't. So let's look at h3. It actually wants to take. Now, can I not take? Is one thing, because there is a sacrifice here where you open the rook. So we want to have a look to see, because if there's a trappy sacrifice, yes, I'm all over that. It seems the best move is to take, but let's just see what's an alternative move. So they're moving the king. That doesn't seem right to me. Knight to e5. Is that a real move? Interestingly, it's not the best scoring, but for the fact that I'm sacrificing a bishop here, that is interesting. Let's have a quick look here, because this is a fascinating position. But if you can leave your bishop attacked here. So what would happen if you took the bishop? We're doing well. We take. He takes. We take. He takes, which is check. King has to move out the way. I mean, if his move is here, that's not an easy move to make. I mean, White could do all kinds of moves here. Also kind of a natural move. Let's just say something like this. Then it's crushing. Bishop to h2. King here. Knight takes. Queen takes. Rook in. I mean, we're never going to get this. Pawn up. Bishop takes. This is madness. King up. And you win the queen. That is very interesting. I mean, this is all madness. I doubt we'll ever get this in a game. But it's just fascinating that you could leave your bishop hanging. And it's not that bad. It's already deep in this line though. But this is the kind of thing. Now we should probably have a look. Have a quick look at what the computer actually wants. Just, it doesn't seem as exciting, does it? It wants queen e5 directly. And then g3 to block. And then h4. And then bishop back. And this is already looking good as well. And then f4. See, f4 is a difficult move. And queen to f5. I mean, I kind of like that actually. Perhaps I shouldn't add the trappy bishop line. Just because this looks so good. Which is why it's best. But let's just have another look. Now I don't have to play knight to a5. Oh god, this position is fascinating. I'm never going to get this repertoire built out, am I? I mean, we've barely touched anything yet. But the thing is, I'll put all this effort now into building this one repertoire for this particular line. But once it's built, and then once I train it day by day by day by day, then you've got it. You've learned it. It's part of your repertoire. So worth all this effort? Question mark, question mark. I'm finding this fascinating. Right, is there any other move that I can do which doesn't lose as much disadvantage, but also lets me let the bishop hang, just because that's so sexy. So bishop f3, because otherwise we'll have to go with the bishop f3. It's just too much better. So we looked at knight to e5. What about king to b8 then? No, the engine. I mean, it's not bad. The fact that this is even, I mean, it's going to be even, but he's going to have to play really, really well. I mean, look at the win rates here. That's insane. And look, if they take the pawn, 75% win rate for black. Well, let's have a look at this. Oh my god. Minus 2.5. Okay, we've got to look at this, because this is just too sexy. And then we need to look at what if they do play optimally. Right, so we come here, and it's saying it has to play g3, otherwise they're lost. Wait, what? Nobody's going to play that. I mean, they're already crushed. So natural is to move the knight out of the way. So the question is, where can we move the knight? Let's just say, what's here? Knight to d4, a normal looking move. This then forced checkmate. All right, let's have a look at this forced checkmate. Bishop check, king across, queen to e5. They throw in a smite check, which you take. They block. Bishop g1. And why can you not take it? Oh, because you're going to bring the queen in, and there's nothing they can do to stop the checkmate. Whatever move, checkmate. That is insane. I love this. This is exactly what I'm looking for. So that's if they move. Wait, so if they take, they're just lost, essentially. Oh, this has to be part of the repertoire. This is just too fun. So if they play best, they're letting the knight go, and you don't even take the knight. Oh, what if you do take the knight? Still winning, but it's okay. So what do they want? Rook here. Oh, you're going to double up with the rooks. King to g2. Double up with the rooks. And why can't they do this? Then you take the knight. Then you take the rook. Oh, then you're losing the queen, of course. Okay, well that's easy enough. But what they're supposed to do is block here, but then you attack the knight. He takes, you take, he takes, you take. Then he brings a rook. Then it's f5. I mean, this is getting very complicated now, but it's also, a lot of it is very natural. Don't know how much we could add to the repertoire. I don't want to make the repertoire this long. I mean, we end up here. So what's the material count at the end of this crazy line? I mean, the engine says -3. We're essentially equal on material, is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, we're a pawn down. We're still a pawn down, but we've got an overwhelmingly good position. So let's just have a quick look at a sample of what all the best moves are, just to see how. Oh yeah, if you've got to play f4, why do you have to play f4? Why would you do that? Let's just do another move. Then you can take. I mean, this is getting all really complicated, but never mind. Right, so let's go back to our position here. So we're looking at h3. God, this is so complicated already. Where's my repertoire? h3. Yes, we're looking at h3. And I'm trying to come up with a move which... The best move is to do this, undoubtedly. But this is just so sexy. And I think we'll go with this king b8. Let's just see if there's anything else which is... So basically, I want to find which is the best engine line that isn't takes, that lets the bishop hang. Because if they ever go for that, we get a really good position. And it's very tempting. People want to take a free bishop. So what are the other options? So king to b8 we've said. So what is this g5? Engine doesn't like g5. G5 is not approved. G5 and they take is still approved. I don't think we'll do g5. King b8 is a better try. Knight to e4. Engine doesn't like. Bishop to e6. Engine doesn't like. King to b8. Knight to e5. Let's have another look at this knight to e5 because it's actually preferred over king to b8. Why didn't I like it before? See how long this takes? I don't even know. If I am to finish just this one opening to d4. I mean, we're just looking at one potential sideline of many. I don't think I can stream it all in one day. And then I want to do this for all the different openings, particularly in my white repertoire with e4 against Caro-Kann, against Scandinavian defense, against Sicilian defense, all of that. Over time. Like, this is something you have to build over time. But I finally want to get it on paper and then learn it. I've got so many sideline repertoires in my mind that I never fully learned properly. I think it will improve my scores and opening understanding. Right, so what other options here? I mean, all of this is fairly good. Interestingly, knight to b5 scores well for white. This is when things get very tricky. Because I don't know how much I want to go down every single sideline. Until somebody plays it against me. The thing is, like, most of these moves are super rare. Maybe that's why to do king to b8, just to keep things less if he does this now, that's already losing. So I think I prefer that. I think I'm going to make king to b8 my repertoire move. It just seems a bit more simple. So let's lock that in. So it's saying bishop to f3, which is the computer move. And maybe down the line I might add that. But I want to keep the potential of this bishop. Now they don't have any more, but that's okay. We can add more moves. So we've locked in king here. Now let's have a look at if they take, which is the fun line. Because I'm sure some people, if you get to this position, they're going to take the bishop. I've already forgotten how we got here, but this is why we're going to end up training ourselves on it. Right, so if they take, we are supposed to take. Let's lock that in. They take, we take. This is training my repertoire. Later on I'll show you how the tests work and how it kind of trains you. But you really need to fully build out the repertoire before it can test you and train you. Right, so now let me look at this. This is crushing. Basically, this is winning. So we just need to look at a few of the most common options. So there's 4 different options. So let's look at knight to d4, and then it's already checkmate. Do I need to put the checkmate in? I might want to put the checkmate in just because it's so nice, and like this move would be so difficult to find. Check. Yeah. So let's add that in. Wait, was that knight to d4? Let's see if they play knight to d4. So if they play knight to d4, we go with a check. They move the king. That's forced. And then we play queen to e5. I mean, the computer knows it's a forced checkmate. Obviously, people don't know that necessarily. But let's just get it in, just because these are moves that... I mean, this isn't going to happen very often, but it's just good to know what the patterns are. Queen to e5. I might play this checkmate out, because it's just 5 moves, isn't it? I guess we can throw this spike check in. Spike check, take. And the whole point is that you end up coming here. With this coming here. Oh, it's a shame it doesn't let me do that. 3 moves. So this g3 is... I mean, the whole point is there's nothing they can do to do this. I'll put the g3 in. I mean, they might not play g3, but the whole point is that we end up bringing the queen in. Now, can I not just bring the queen straight away? Then it complicates it. I probably shouldn't do it. Oh, crap. No. Don't do that. What am I doing? Have I got down the wrong line again? Oh no. Right, let's do it from here. Analyze. Because what if they don't play g3? Let me just do a random move. There's all this bishop g1. I'll just put the g3 in, because it's the checkmate pattern that we want to get saved in the repertoire, basically. Here. Because this is check, so this is forced. Takes. Queen here. And there's no stopping the checkmate. Is that correct? Here. Whatever he does. Queen here. And there's nothing he can do. We can leave the repertoire like that. That's obvious. Save to repertoire. Now the problem is I need to go back now, because we need to go back to this sideline. All of this we don't need. Right, so here we've got h3. So we just looked at what happens if they do... No, we do king to b8. And then what happens if they take, we take, and we looked at knight to d4. But now we need to look at the options. Instead of knight to d4, we'll look at knight to h2. That's the next most common. It says overwhelmingly bishop takes, but that's just a free knight. Well, that's obvious. Even I can do that. Who does this? This is just basic players, right? Do I even include that? I mean, I guess I can, but then it's just obviously this, and then save to repertoire. We don't need to add more than that. Right, so now let's go back. I really don't know if this is good content for you guys. You have to let me know if anybody likes this, because this video is going to be so long. Or I stop it and split it up. Maybe I stop it, split it up at some point, and then you guys can tell me if you want more of this kind of stuff. Because it's mental, really, isn't it? Building a repertoire. Right, we want to go back. So they take, we take, and we've looked at knight to d4, we've looked at knight to h2, and we want to see what alternatives are. d4, h2, g5, g3. These are the 4 we want. So let's have a look at knight to g5. And that is already crushing just with queen to e5. In some ways we don't even need to look at this. f4, simple takes here, He's actually fairly complicated. I mean, it's just his king is just so weak. Maybe I do need to keep some of these moves here. It's not super obvious. I mean, this is ridiculous. Really? You're just giving the knight away? Because what I need to do now is, how do we stop the king from escaping here? Let's just say he does a nothing move. Then it's check here, check here, checkmate. Interesting. Right, I think this is too much to add to the repertoire, so let's just... Some of it we do have to just think in games, because I'm never going to remember it if it's too much. So queen to g5, e5 is the key move. Maybe we leave it at that. There are different options. I suppose g3 is the most, and then you just give the knight up. Yeah, I think we'll leave it at queen to e5. So we said queen to g5 and then queen to e5. Save to repertoire. If I get this position and I've memorized up to here, most of this we should be able to find. Or, I mean, there's so much attacking potential here. Right, and then there was one last one, wasn't there? I can go to the next gap. Will it take me back to... No, this is taking me to the wrong place now. Right, how do I get back to where I want to? This is my black repertoire. Right, so we want to edit it. Oh, this is slightly annoying. I don't know how to get back to where I need to get to. Browse, edit. No. Go to my biggest gap. E4. Oh, no, this is black repertoire. I'm going to have to go back into my... So we're doing our Englund Gambit. We're playing d6. We're taking with a bishop. Wait, what just happened? Taking with a bishop. And then we're looking at knight to f3, knight to c6, knight to c3, bishop to g4, and e3 happens the most common. Queen to e7, bishop to e2. So this is already... I don't know how often we're going to get this position, to be honest. So we're kind of quite far into theory. Knight to f6, castles, and h5 is this key idea. This h3. We get to this king b8, takes, and there was one more move to add. Allies. It was the fourth move here, g3. And this just is a nonsense move, isn't it? You just take the knight. You don't take the knight. If you take the knight, it's not as good. Interesting. Did we look at this already? It's saying rook to h3 is the best. Knight to g5, rook to h5. This is madness. Now the knight's got nowhere to go. King to g2, rook here. This is way too complicated. I mean, it's really cool. It feels too complicated there. Maybe I just take the knight, just because it's so simple. And at the end of this, am I not just material up here? No, I'm not material up. Oh, because we sacrificed the bishop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Crap, I'm still a pawn down. My position's still better, but it's not obvious. G3 is such a move. Like, who plays G3? Engine plays G3. Interesting. These are bloody engine users. Nobody plays G3 here when the knight's attacked. Perhaps I skip this from my repertoire. Wait, G3, and what's my move? Rook to... Wait, rook to H5 is the move. Oh, we did it here first. The engine's changed his mind. Rook to H5? I think I'm just going to leave it like this. The rest of it we'll have to work out ourselves over the board if we ever get this position. It's too complicated. But let's just add it just because it is 18% of games apparently. I don't believe that. Right, so we'll add G3 and we're going to do rook to H5. And we're going to save it like that. Right, that's way too much. In some ways I've gone into too much detail, but it's such a fascinating sacrifice of a bishop line that I wanted to have it within the repertoire. So I'm putting the work in now, even though this is like way too deep for what I really want. How many moves deep in? 12 moves. This is not that much. 12 moves in. Wonder if we'll ever get this position. Probably not. Right, so we've gone down one of the sidelines. Let's go back and just get back to how we got here. Crap. I went too far back. The video is 50 minutes long now. I might have to stop it for now and allow it to marinate in the public eyes and see if people like this kind of content or not. So what we can do, I can show you the practice of the repertoire. I think it will only show me the stuff which we just did. I'm hoping that. I have started to build a white repertoire. I might show you sometime. I've started to build my repertoire against the French defence. That's the only thing I've done, which is another sideline. Perhaps if you're interested in that, you can tell me and I'll show it to you next time. But I'll show you. So this is how the practice works. So basically, it doesn't necessarily do this because obviously, depending on how many openings you got, it can test you in any opening. But it will essentially give you a move and you've got to play what your repertoire is. And you can say you don't know, or you can try and get as many right or wrong. So we know that if he does this, we're going to go with this. Correct. And we're going to go with this. Correct. And we're going to take with the bishop. Correct. Now if he brings the knight here, I think it was knight out. Correct. Now what? This is when it gets bishop to g4. Correct. e3. Was it queen here? Crap. Or was it knight out? Queen here? Correct. Castles, surely. Bishop out. We're going down our line. Now, we've only programmed this one line in. Obviously, once you program all your lines in, it can take you down any of the lines. But basically, it lets you practice every day. But once you practice, that's it for the day. And then each day you're testing whatever your lines are, and you're slowly learning them over time. It is a very powerful memory kind of thing. Right, so he does here. Was it knight out? No, or was it h5 already? Crap, was it h5 already? No, I got one wrong. Knight out? Knight out. Now it's h5. And we know that the best move is here, but we're learning this kind of more trappy answer. And I think we said king here. And this is where we've got a few sidelines, which will be interesting if we remember. So he's got take, and we take with the pawn. And then this is the one that was... Wait, what was the move here? Was it attack here? See, this is why I need to train it, because now I don't remember what the move is. Was it bishop check? Or was it that rook here? Bishop check. No. Rook here. Oh god, what was it? No, it was queen here. And now it takes us to a different sideline. So now it's done the G3 one. And we said with G3 we're bringing the rook here. And now it's taking us to a different sideline. I've got 8 left to learn apparently. So this was the knight here line. This was the bishop check. Oh god, what was it next? Was it queen here? Queen here? Spike check. No, crap, don't do that. Was it bishop here now? It's bishop here now, isn't it? And then queen across. And there was the checkmate. Oh! We're learning. But obviously we've just gone through all this line, so this is fairly easy. But if you train this day in, day out, you know, when you're on the loo, whatever, you'll quickly learn these lines and be able to put them to good use. Right, this bishop here, I mean, this was... We just take it, isn't it? Yes, very easy. 2 more left. Oh, this was because I made a mistake. So this is training the mistakes that I did. So what was the mistake? It wasn't this. It was the knight out, wasn't it? Then here it was queen here. Right. We practiced 19 times. We played the correct move 17 times. We got 89%. And we can review again in 24 hours. Continue. My black repertoire is 1% complete. And this is against all possible kind of black openings or whatever. So all these other openings, we haven't built a repertoire out yet. And even this one we haven't finished yet. Now I probably would continue, but I am mindful, like this video is now an hour long. So I'm going to leave it like this. And either I'm going to continue doing it by myself and what have you, or if there's any interest or anybody enjoys this kind of stuff, be loud and let me know, and then I might continue to stream it if you like seeing how this repertoire building is done. And eventually, once I've learned it, we'll have to put it into practice, but it's going to take a while to learn it. But I guess what I can do is try and do stuff with the repertoire when we play some games. Now, one of the slight problems is that was a really fun line. But I know there's a line, because I have tried this before, and one of the most challenging lines... No, that's the wrong one. This one. Is basically the computer move when they don't take the pawn. So we kind of get some fun when they do that. But when they don't take the pawn, we need to build a repertoire for that as well. And unfortunately, it's not brilliant. Although black doesn't score too badly. So we need to find the most challenging. I think we need to look at bishop here and bishop here. And take it from there. But anyway, I'm going to do that another time. We've started our Englund Gambit repertoire. The problem is this is probably my sideline d4 opening. But hey ho. Actually, this was way more complicated than I thought it was going to be. It's going to take a while to build out a full repertoire, isn't it? But it's very interesting and it's a way to learn. Right? Let me know if you guys enjoyed, and I'll speak to you guys next time. Have a good one.